Okay. Hi, everyone. We are here today with Simon Green from ISP with a quite an interesting name. I would say so, 1310. We will have a short interview to understand how they run their ISP business and understand what actually results they get from the cooperation with Splynx solution. I know that the name of your ISP is inspired from the wavelengths of light in the delivery of fiber optic connectivity. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 1310 nanometers, the
Yes.
the laser wavelength.
Yes, good. Okay, so could you please tell us a few words about your business? What type of services do you provide?
Yeah, sure. So we are doing primarily business to business, but also a bit of business to consumer access connectivity in the UK out of telephone exchanges and local business parks and smaller POPs and properties and things like that.
Mhm.
We're doing PPPoE type access most of the time. Majority of the network is MikroTik, and yeah, it's a very decentralized model. So we're using BGP everywhere to roll out all the POPs and the routers in like BGP inside the network as well, which makes each of the little POPs quite independent.
Okay, thank you for the information. And the next question should be, what software were you using before engaging with us? But as far as I know, you started using Splynx from scratch. Am I correct?
No, we were using Ubiquity UCRM, which
Mhm.
became UNMS. It got wrapped into UNMS. From previous businesses I've built, I've learned that trying to shape software that's off the shelf around your business is really difficult. And so with 1310, instead, we decided to shape the business around the software. So we spent a little while trying different platforms to figure out what was out there and what was possible, and their sort of blueprint ways of running things. And so we started out doing UCRM, but UCRM is very much based around A, ubiquity equipment,
Yeah.
and B, wireless. And so everything to do with their setup talks about and infers and caters to wireless. I know wireless is massive for Splynx as well, but you actually support both sides quite well. Yeah, we ditched UCRM fairly early and moved to Splynx, and yeah, it's been really good actually. And we followed. We're now making our choices of how we'll architect network and how we will um, put together commercials and packages and payments and things like that, all based around the capabilities of Splynx rather than the other way around. And it's a lot easier to go with what a particular vendor wants you to do rather than try and go against it.
Mhm. Okay, understand. It's actually, I would say, a wise decision because a lot of fresh internet service providers they decide to start managing their ISPs with different platforms that are free of charge. But the drawback of this scenario is that such providers will spend way more time on the routine administrative tasks and as a consequences, they may have some issues and have additional or unplanned costs maybe. So yeah, so what was the main reason that you have chosen our product, Splink software?
Well, I'm a pretty firm believer that it's difficult to find a problem that someone else hasn't already solved. It's very unusual for a business to be, charting new territory, doing things that no one has ever done before. And frankly, providing internet connectivity is a solved problem. And so you just need to choose what your budget is really, and how far into the market you're prepared to go in order to get your stake in there. And then someone else has solved the how do you do it for you. So, for example, using Splinks, it kind of gives you it solves a lot, answers a lot of the questions that you might have. How am I going to do things like resolving charging clients, making sure that we account for ad hoc charges, or how do we do project management? How do we track our leads? Things like that. All of that stuff is contained within it in that little ecosystem, and it makes it really easy. You don't have to think about how to solve those problems. And as a business owner, having started several businesses, those are the things that trip you up. You start out as a one-man show, and you're trying to solve things yourself, and you're running out of spreadsheets and stuff like that, but that's not sustainable. And if you want to grow as a business, then you have to have tools and platform around you that support that. So yeah, Splynx is great for that. It solves all those challenges for us.
Okay, thank you for the warm feedback. And could you please briefly describe the cooperation with us and what results did you achieve at this point? Maybe where did you get the most value from our product, in what sphere?
Okay. Well, I think there's some certain baseline expectations that you would have of any software vendor. You know, you can reasonably expect, well, the thing's going to work. It's going to do what it says it's going to do. If for any reason it doesn't do that, you'd expect them to fix it. And as you would expect, wherever we've had any issues like that, Splynx has that your team has been fantastic with it. What surprised me the most, I think, the most impressed I've been with value from the Splynx team so far is really early on. We had some UK specific challenge that we wanted to solve to do with how to get out of the BT wholesale network and some
Mhm.
particular line rate information and then get that looped back around through Splynx. The detail doesn't matter, but what I was impressed with was that your guys were prepared to write us a custom module for Splynx to handle that information and do that complete loopback, and it worked really well. I was very impressed with it, and you were very honest about it as well. The whole conversation about the paid work was almost very open book. It was, well, we think it's going to take this amount of time. If it takes any longer, we'll put that amount back on your accounting credit and things like that. And yeah, expectations met. And when it comes to software vendors and platforms like this, just meeting your expectations is often quite a difficult thing. You know, when you're talking to big companies like Salesforce, ServiceNow, ConnectWise, those sorts of businesses, it can really go either way. But I haven't been disappointed at all in interactions with Splink so far.
Okay, it's a great pleasure to hear that you are able to achieve your goals and aims. We are always trying to improve our platform as we want to always add as many useful features as we can in the platform. But I would emphasize here the word useful, because Splynx is built by guys who were in shoes of an ISP business. Most of our support guys, our management were in ISP business before, and we always speak with our community. We try to understand what features are in demand and implement them in the future. For instance, we just released the TR69 feature, which is really useful for management of CPE of users. And this feature actually was requested a lot by our customers. And we have plans for more, of course. Yeah, so at this point, thank you for sharing your feedback, sharing your experience. We really appreciate it. And the last question would be, could you please tell us how likely you would recommend us for customers?
So I'm quite heavily involved in two online communities, one heavily focused on the US, one heavily focused on the UK for ISP owners, and I am constantly promoting Splinks to them because I it's not often that you come across a business that does what they say they're going to do so well, and that's really important. You know, there's a lot of companies out there who say we will solve this problem and we will do this thing, but there's always an element of disappointment, or no, it doesn't quite do that, and things like that. Now there are things that Splinks doesn't do. Nobody covers everything 100%, but you're open and honest about that, and when you say you're going to do a thing, you do a thing, and if you say a thing will work, you make sure it works. I know there are other businesses out there who do the same thing that you do, and I hear stories about those products and the frustration of being told a thing will happen and it won't, or putting a support ticket in and not hearing anything for ages. And I've never been disappointed in Splink so far. It's yeah, very impressed. So yeah, how likely would I be to tell someone to recommend you? I'd say 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much for the feedback, Simon. Uh, it's actually very valuable for us and for our future and existing customers also, so they could understand how they can benefit from our platform, for sure. Uh, the last question will be, what can be improved in our platform? What are the drawbacks? Because 10 out of 10 is there is no way to improve, you know. So
Yeah,
we,
okay, all
yeah.
right. So what would I improve? I think localization. You're catering to a lot of countries, and so things like field names and stuff like that require a little bit of localization. So things like address details, postcodes, stuff like that. You've got things in there that are laid out for obviously a particular locale that I know in the UK are a bit the wrong way round, and so they're a little bit confusing when you see them. It's not that they don't work; it's just not quite how you expect it to be. But there's not really a problem. That's super minor. Um,
We'll try to
yeah,
improve that for sure.
and also possibly diversifying your primary target device beyond MikroTik as well, because I think as ISPs scale, MikroTik is a fantastic platform for starting an ISP on, but as businesses scale, they start to suffer from problems like how do they scale BGP edge connectivity and things like that, and that really pushes the boundaries of what you can do with MikroTik, or I guess from a risk perspective, what you're prepared to do with MikroTik, and bringing other devices and other platforms up to that sort of first class citizen type level that you hold MikroTik with Splynx would be good as well, be comforting to know.
Okay, Simon, thank you very much for such an informative feedback. We really appreciate it. We will constantly improve Splink software, and we will continue to live up to your expectations, of course, and we'll try to provide you with the best service possible in the future. So bye for now, and let's stay in touch.